This material is for information purpose only. However, no update service will be furnished to maintain current revision. It cannot be relied upon to perform any maintenance task on the aircraft or to meet safety or regulatory requirements. Please do use the current revision and effectivity of aircraft maintenance manual prior to carrying out any maintenance task respectively.
The Federal Aviation Administration, FAA, is adopting a new Airworthiness Directive, AD, for all the Boeing Company Model 737-300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 700C, 800, 900, and 900 Extended Range, ER, series airplanes. An emergency AD was sent to all known U.S. owners and operators of these airplanes. This AD requires inspections of the engine bleed air fifth stage check valve on each engine, and replacement of the engine bleed air fifth stage check valve if any inspection is not passed. This AD was prompted by 4 recent reports of single engine shutdowns due to engine bleed air fifth stage check valves being stuck open. The FAA is issuing this AD to address the unsafe condition on these products. This AD is effective August 26, 2020 to all persons except those persons to whom it was made immediately effective by Emergency AD 2020-16-51, issued on July 23, 2020, which contain the requirements of this amendment. The FAA must receive comments on this AD by September 25, 2020. This condition, if not addressed, could result in compressor stalls and dual-engine power loss without the ability to restart, which could result in a forced off-airport landing. The FAA is issuing this AD because the agency evaluated all the relevant information and determined the unsafe condition described previously is likely to exist or develop in other products of the same type design. An unsafe condition exists that requires the immediate adoption of Emergency AD 2020-16-51, issued on July 23, 2020, to all known U.S. owners and operators of these airplanes. The FAA found that the risk to the flying public justified waiving notice and comment prior to adoption of this rule because corrosion of the engine bleed air fifth stage check valves on both engines could result in a dual-engine power loss without the ability to restart, which could result in a forced off-airport landing. Okay, let's see where is the location and what is its function. The fifth stage bleed air check valve prevents ninth stage bleed air flow into the fifth stage bleed port. The bleed air check valve is a split flapper check valve. The bleed air check valve is part of the engine bleed air manifold. It is on the left-hand side of the engine high-pressure compressor case. The valve lets airflow go in the direction of the arrow. It stops airflow in the opposite direction. 2 semicircular flappers control airflow. Normal airflow opens the flappers. Reverse airflow closes the flappers. Maintenance tips. Install the bleed air check valve so that the flow arrow points away from the fifth stage bleed port. Align the flange clamps correctly and torque to specifications. Improperly aligned or loose clamps may interfere with engine components or the inner thrust reverser cowls. Bleed air check valve, fifth stage. Inspection and check. Rotate the flapper plates by hand at least 3 times. If the flapper plate moves smoothly, without signs of binding or sticking, from the fully closed position to the stop tube using gravity force alone, the engine bleed air fifth stage check valve has passed this inspection. Measure the clearance between the flapper bushings at both locations on each engine bleed air fifth stage check valve. If the clearance between the flapper bushings is a minimum of 0.004 inch or 0.102 millimeters at both locations, the engine bleed air fifth stage check valve at that location has passed this inspection. If any engine bleed air fifth stage check valve fails any of the inspections, replace that engine bleed air fifth stage check valve before further flight. Do a general visual inspection of the flapper bushings for signs of cracks, fractures, and missing bushing heads. If the flapper bushings do not show any signs of cracks, fractures, or missing bushing heads, the engine bleed air fifth stage check valve has passed this inspection. Signs of corrosion are not a cause for replacing the engine bleed air fifth stage check valve if the engine bleed air fifth stage check valve did not fail any of the inspections of this AD. Using only hand pressure, try to rotate the flapper bushings in the flapper plates. If the bushings do not rotate in the flapper plate, the engine bleed air fifth stage check valve has passed this inspection. Do a general visual inspection of the check valve for signs of the flappers rubbing against the valve body. If the flappers do not show any signs of rubbing against the valve body, the engine bleed air fifth stage check valve has passed this inspection. For airplanes that have operated 10 or fewer flight cycles since the most recent period of storage prior to the effective date of this AD, as an alternative, if allowed by the operator's FAA-approved minimum equipment list, the airplane may be dispatched with one engine's engine bleed air high stage valve locked closed. Thereafter, within 5 additional flight cycles, inspect the engine bleed air fifth stage check valve on both engines as required by this AD. Special flight permits may be issued in accordance with 14 CFR 21.197 and 21.199 to operate the airplane to a location where the airplane can be inspected, provided one engine's engine bleed air high stage valve has been locked closed. This option is only available if the operator's FAA-approved minimum equipment list allows dispatching the airplane with one engine's engine bleed air high stage valve locked closed.